Hello, my name is Paul Miners, and welcome to this minor update for December 2021. So this is my final update for the year. Since my last update, which was back in September, I believe, if you saw that video at the time, we had just gone into lockdown here in New Zealand because we had our first cases of the Delta variant. And time has just flown since then. I can't believe it's already December, it's almost Christmas in less than 2 weeks. And unfortunately, because we have been in lockdown, we haven't been able to do as much as we normally would. We were actually on holiday in Queenstown. It was our first holiday of the year at the time that the lockdown kicked in. So as I mentioned in my last video, unfortunately that got cut short. So for a large portion of this last quarter, we have been stuck at home. Restrictions have eased up now. Vaccination rates in New Zealand are very high. I think we're above about 90% double vax now, which is great. And so things are getting back to normal again, or as normal as they can be, whatever normal is these days. But the timing is good. As we're getting closer to Christmas, we are, out and about. I've been working at home basically for the last quarter of the year. Since lockdown, we obviously couldn't go into the co-working space, which was a shame. I made the decision to cancel my membership there because we were still paying a bit under level 3, and the way I saw things kind of playing out is we were allowed back earlier this month in December, but with the holidays coming up, it doesn't really make sense to go back until next year. So we'll reassess at the start of New Year and decide if we want to go back there. But I've actually really enjoyed working from home more. Normally I only work at home a little bit during the week, and now it's kind of like I've got my new routine. It's working well. I'm not having to travel. I don't have to commute anywhere. I just finish work for the day and I'm done, which is great. Since working at home has become the new normal and I didn't have the expense of the co-working space, I've decided to get a standing desk, which you can see behind me. And I've really enjoyed working from this over the last couple of weeks. I was actually able to just get the legs. This is my old desktop, and a local company here in Auckland was able to give me just the legs, which is great. So save a bit of money there. And it's got your programmed settings on the right hand side, so you just click a button and it goes to your set height, which is great because if I can avoid it, I don't want to be sitting down for too much of the day. I find I get stiff. It results in mobility issues, which I definitely notice at the gym. So I'm enjoying standing up a bit more, which is nice. Speaking of work, it's been a really good, productive end to the year. At the start of the year, if you remember, I had just hired my friend Warwick on a full-time basis, and that's just been going really well this year. In the last quarter, I've hired a couple of other contractors on a really sort of casual basis who are now doing some of my one-on-one consulting calls for me. So this has just been great because it's eased up some of my workload. It means I can offer more availability to clients because I can team them up with a contractor. And overall, it's just working really well. So I'm happy that I kind of achieved my goal for the year. My goal was to make life easier, to streamline the business more, to free up my calendar a bit. And I can say with confidence I've definitely achieved that this year, building out the team a little bit. And as I've talked about on my blog and in various videos and things, I was always hesitant in the past about working with other people. I kind of like the freedom of just being my own, just working completely on my own. It's just me. I don't have to worry about other people. So I was very hesitant for years about using contractors. And so I'm really pleased that this year I've been able to address all of those concerns and prove those fears wrong. I've now found that working with contractors can work really well if you manage expectations, manage the contractors correctly, and put good systems in place. So I'm really pleased on that front. It's been good progress this year in terms of just streamlining and taking the business to the next level. In terms of a couple of purchases that I've made recently that I wanted to share, the first is I'm currently reading Courage is Calling by Ryan Holiday, who I've mentioned many times on my blog and podcast, one of my favorite, if not my favorite author. He's written this book, Courage is Calling, and this is the first in a series of 4 that he's writing. He's writing about courage, which is this one. My understanding is he's going to be bringing out books related to temperance, justice, and wisdom as well, which are the 4 Stoic virtues. And I've always enjoyed his writing on Stoicism. I find it's a really nice topic that really resonates with me, and I've always just enjoyed his writing. He's got a great ability to deconstruct big topics into a really relatable, understandable way. So really enjoying this at the moment. I also purchased a new microphone I was using an old, I can't even remember the brand, some fairly cheap microphone. I had it on a boom arm on my desk, and it was actually a phantom powered microphone. So it plugged into a condenser and then into my Mac, and it was a fine mic, added a lot of clutter to my desk though. So again, as I've been working from home more, I've been trying to streamline my setup a little bit. And so when I was doing the desk and everything, I got a new microphone. So this is the Rode NT USB Mini. And I was recommended this by a good friend, Kay Kamgar, who's one of the members of my VIP group. I know that he uses this, and he's just a great, very tech-savvy guy. I know that in choosing a microphone, he would have looked at a ton of different options, and if he puts his stamp of approval on something, that's good enough for me. So I got the Rode NT USB Mini. It's a USB-C on the back, and it just goes USB-A into the computer. So I don't need a condenser. I can still plug headphones into here and hear myself. I can use this for podcasts. I've got a little stand that it goes on because that just magnetizes off. I can screw it into a little stand and I can raise it up on my desk. I can use it for video as well. So yeah, it's been, because I've been using the old microphone for a long time. It was kind of time for an upgrade, and so far really enjoying the Rode NT USB Mini. Even if you don't make podcasts or videos like me, it's a great little mic that's great even just for your Zoom meetings and things. If you want to upgrade your audio quality, it's a nice little simple mic, doesn't take up a lot of room, plugs into your Mac or your PC, and away you go. Brilliant, brilliant mic. I've also been having a play with a new to-do list system called Analog, which is by Jeff Sheldon from Ugmonk. If you listen to my podcast, you may remember I interviewed Jeff, I think it was at the beginning of this year, or maybe even was last year. And the Analog system that he created, it was a Kickstarter project. And basically how it works is you get these index cards. I've got a stack of them here. And there's 3 types of cards. You've got the Today card, where you write on the date at the top, and you write a list of things you want to do today. And you can fill in the circles and tick them off, or color in half the circle depending on if you've started or if you've completed the task. But the Today card is just simply, what do you want to do today? As you can see, there's like less than 10 things you can fit on here. So it's a nice way of helping you to prioritize and focus on a small list of things to do that day. So that's the Today card. You then have the Next card, so slightly more kind of brownish yellow color. The Next card is sort of like your what you need to do next. Maybe if you finish everything on the Today card, this is sort of the next few things on your list when you have a bit more time. And then you have your Someday card. These are ideas, things that you're still maybe mulling over, things you might come back to someday in the future. So it's actually very similar to how I've been working for years in Asana. In Asana, you have what you've got today, what you've got upcoming, which is generally the next week, and then what you have later. This is basically a card or paper version of that. Now, I'm a very digital person. This has not replaced Asana for me, but it's been a fun little tool to try and use. And I haven't really used the Today card much, but what I have been doing is been using the Someday and the Next cards, and I keep them pinned up on a board over here. When I have ideas of things that I want to do, I quite like just writing them down and putting them somewhere nearby where I can kind of keep an eye on it. The other thing I've been doing is just for weekend chores and things. If there's a list of things I need to do at the weekend, I like writing it on the Today card. I put it on the fridge. Haley, my wife's been using them as well. So just a nice way to kind of plan a little list of jobs for the weekend. It seems that every time I make one of these videos, I do a short little update on Bitcoin as well. Again, if you've followed me for a while, you'll know that I'm big into Bitcoin. And when I made my first video, or really I should say this time last year, when I did my December update for 2020, I think the Bitcoin price, we were looking at around 19,000 USD. So we were basically approaching the previous all-time high. Now, 12 months later, I think we're sitting at around 50,000 USD today. So I think that's about 160% growth in the last year, which is just kind of mind-blowing, really. But my big takeaway, really, looking back at this year and thinking about everything that's happened, I think what we've seen this year in terms of the stimulus and the sort of money printing that's happened both here in New Zealand, the US, Europe, really all around the world, it proves the case of Bitcoin more and more. Because all this printing, I know certainly here in New Zealand, has resulted in asset prices going up. You know, the property market is going crazy, the stock prices are going up, and it's kind of deceptive because a lot of people who own property or stocks feel like, wow, we're getting richer. But it's almost I look at it slightly differently. I don't think property is necessarily going up. It's more that the value of the currency is going down, like what we've seen when currencies have hyperinflated in the past in countries like Venezuela or Zimbabwe. You know, when bread goes from $5 up to $500, bread is not worth $500. The value of the currency has gone down. So although it looks good on paper, some of the things that are happening, I'm trying to look at it slightly differently. So all that to say, I am continuing to just dollar cost average and buy little bits of Bitcoin every single week to just move some of my own savings into this asset that cannot be inflated away. We cannot produce more of it. It really is a hard fixed supply asset. And the reason I choose Bitcoin, I know there's loads of other cryptocurrencies to choose from. I'm happy with Bitcoin because to me that is the clear winner in terms of decentralization. None of the other cryptos can compete with Bitcoin on that front. And to me, that is the key feature. It really solves the problem. All currencies now are controlled by governments and central banks. It's centralized and controlled by a few people. Bitcoin is open source. Nobody can control it. And yes, there are other cryptocurrencies, but from what I understand, most of them seem to be controlled by a small group or an entity in one form or another. So that's why I choose to put my savings into something like Bitcoin, is because there is no central entity that controls it. Like I said, nothing else can really compete with Bitcoin if that's how you evaluate its worth. And what I did not expect this year is that a country, El Salvador, came out and announced that they were going to make Bitcoin legal tender. And a few months later, I think it was in September or October, that happened. So now if you go to El Salvador, Starbucks, McDonald's, loads of places are accepting Bitcoin as a form of payment, and that's being done over the Lightning Network. So those transactions are happening almost instantly and basically for free. The fees are negligible when they go over the Lightning Network. So I completely did not expect that to happen this year. And now, you know, the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, came out and said, you know, we don't like the fact that you're doing this. It's risky for your economy, whatever. I mean, really, if you read between the lines, it's just taking power away from the IMF. So they've now come out and said, well, if you're not going to lend us money, we'll do our own Bitcoin bond, and they're going to raise money their own way. So it's amazing to see countries now taking matters into their own hand. And I think this is just the first. We will, I'm sure, next year see other countries follow suit and mimic the El Salvador playbook. So I'm just here doing the edit for this video, and I completely forgot to say, wow, what a final race. We just had the conclusion of the Formula One World Championship this morning. It was at 2 a.m. New Zealand time, so we got up and watched the replay. And big congrats to Max Verstappen, Team Red Bull, for winning the championship. It was an absolutely crazy ending to that race. If you're not interested in Formula One and you don't care, I would highly recommend watching Drive to Survive on Netflix. I've put loads of people onto this. I've said, go and watch this documentary. They've watched the documentary, and it kind of teaches you and gets you up to speed in terms of the Formula One where we're at right now. And a lot of people have then gone on to become big F1 fans. I know most of my audience are in the United States. You're more into IndyCar and NASCAR. You actually, in Austin, there was the Grand Prix in Austin a couple of weeks ago. So if you're remotely interested, check out the documentary. It's a good time as well because we just finished this season. The new season will be kicking off early next year in March. Brand new cars as well. So anyway, just wanted to throw this in at the last minute. Absolutely incredible race today. So that's basically me done for this year. We've got one more full week of work, and then we're going to be doing about a half week next week before Christmas, and then basically shutting up shop until January. Looking forward to hopefully getting a holiday in this time that won't get cut short by COVID, I hope. We're going camping for New Year's, and then actually a week later we're going camping away again in the Coromandel, which will be really nice. I just want to end by saying thank you very much for watching this video and my other videos, my blog, my podcast, if you have been following my work. Hope you have a fantastic end to the year, whatever you have planned, and see you in 2022.